I don't know what else to call this Sunday other than odd. It's just every day is odd these days, and you're constantly watching the news for hourly, if not minute, updates on the latest happenings. But Kevin Pearson, Houston, Texas, right?
Right, exactly.
And we got two Nevada boys here. I'm representing the North up in Gardnerville, Nevada, Carson Valley, and Michael. I don't know if I've said your name out loud yet. Dakduk.
Dakduk. Just put an E at the end. That's the best way to remember. Yep, thanks.
Yeah. From Las Vegas. Anyhow, I was supposed to be in Las Vegas, I think, during this week for the
right.
What the heck was it? It was the Standard Summit.
Yeah, we all
on again, off again, on again, off again, and I wanted to do some other stuff while I was down there, industry related, and finally had to call it off. But wanted to go ahead with the interview, and these two fine gentlemen agreed to go ahead with it. I appreciate you guys working on a Sunday, but without any sports on TV, what the hell? That's what you're going to be doing, right? Move this camera here. So this recording will be recorded, let's say, and put on YouTube and all that for further sharing. But it'll stay on Facebook as well. But let's give it a minute or two. This is one of those. Oh, you know what, guys? I got to make it go public.
Yeah, it says you're live, but I don't.
We were still in private mode for just the three of us. There we go. No wonder nobody was logging on. There's something. This thing really remembers your settings for quite some time. Let's see if that worked.
I don't see it.
There we go. Hit your refresh.
Okay.
And it is live. I'm pretty sure there we go. I see I got 8 people on and that number's going up. Anyhow, here's like I said a minute ago before we figured out how to turn the button on. It's kind of a rather odd Sunday, but I know a lot of people are out and about today. I was out off-roading yesterday. Man, there's an amazing amount of people out in the wilderness and on the trails. People I think they're homebound. They're sick of being homebound and they want to get out and about. But I got Kevin Pearson here, the chairman of the board of the IICRC, resides in Houston, Texas, live from his man cave. And Michael Dakduk, did I get it right?
Yes, sir.
All right, from Las Vegas, Nevada. And I'm Mike Payete from Gardnerville, Nevada, about 9 hours to the north. And as I was saying, I was supposed to be in Vegas this past week for the Standard Summit, and the three of us were going to do a live person-to-person interview there, but that got called off for obvious reasons, and both of them were willing to come on here on a Sunday afternoon, since there's no sports on or anything else to do, and chat with me for a little while about the current state of affairs. I was kind of waiting for an announcement, Michael, for something to come out of you, but with everything thrown into your lap here, I wasn't too surprised that it's been delayed, so I was happy to take part in spurring it on. I got a cheat sheet here. Let me find that. There we go. Hey, I wanted to ask you, when you got out, or when you joined the Marines, right? You were a Marine, Semper Fi,
yes, sir.
Right?
Yeah, that's correct. I was.
Did the Gulf War start the next day?
No, no, I deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan when I was in the Marines, and I enjoyed it. And I was a private, so I wasn't an officer. I didn't go in after college. I went in right after high school, and I was a technician. I programmed radios. I carried them on my back. So when everybody else had 50 pounds on their back, I had an extra 20 to 30. So I know what it's like to be on the ground level as a technician in the trenches. And I think that's why I've always been attracted to technical and trade-based programs. So when I got out of the military, I started to gravitate towards supporting technical, trade, and career-related programs and organizations, because I felt like our country doesn't value them, even though we talk about them and we're talking about apprenticeships more and things like that. I think skill-based technical trade programs are not valued enough in this country, and that's precisely why I was attracted to IICRC.
Perfect. Kevin, why don't you give a quick introduction as well? I know you were a carpet cleaner at one point, maybe still am, but how did you end up in the position you're at currently?
Sure. I started in this industry in 1992 as a technician, worked my way up to being a general manager of that company. And then in 2001, I went into business with my mom and dad. My wife and I went, joined them in business. And it worked out great for a long time because my dad had the gray hair then. Everybody wanted to talk to my dad. And they didn't know that he didn't know anything about it. And so I just gave him all the paperwork and said, hey, you get the paperwork filled out and I'll go do the jobs. And so, it worked out great. People didn't necessarily want to talk to me. And then somewhere along the line, that all changed. And then I think around 2005 or 6, somewhere in there, I got involved in the standards portion of IICRC and helped write a couple of standards, and really just enjoyed getting to know people in the organization. And so in 2011, they decided to put me on the board, and then here we are today. So it's been quite a journey. In 2018, I actually sold my clean air restoration company. And so, so thank goodness that now that we need extra time to do this job for IICRC, I have the extra time.
Well, I'll say. I'll do a quick intro. I figure a lot of people on here don't know who I am and why I'm in this position to interview you fine folks. But I've been cleaning carpet since '86 and still continue to do so today. I have 2 locations, one in Santa Cruz, California, where I have 4 employees, and I fly solo over here in Northern Nevada. I worked for Coit and was strictly IICRC certified for many years. Aaron Gross-Close was my instructor on I think for carpet and upholstery, and we still remain friends to this day. And then back in 2006, I started my online forum, Mikey's Board, and that's got a long and sordid history, but it's still going today with lots of industry rock stars on there. And it's a place to go get educated, one other place to get educated. And that led into me putting on my events, Mikey's Fest, and the IICRC. I'll be honest with you, I let my certifications go quite a few years ago. I just never saw the value. And I'm certainly not the only one on the forum or in the industry that felt the same. It just I never got the calls, and I was educating myself online. I never got the calls meaning, are you IICRC certified? There was never that. But a lot of that changed. One, when I started getting employees and realizing the value of training. But 2, more importantly, when Lee Pemberton, who's one of 3 original shareholders of the IICRC, him and his son asked me to step in and be his shareholder rep. Lee's no longer able to travel. He and I think a lot alike, as does Jim. And John Downey had stepped down. They asked me to at least try it, right? And like we were talking about the other night, Kevin, I think the timing was absolutely perfect on this. If I had come to my first shareholders meeting a year prior, 2 years prior, I probably would have told Lee, I'm sorry, I don't think there's anything here I could do that would help the organization. I'm not seeing the future growth. But you and I had met, we had dinner and drinks together, You saw the value of what I was doing. You came and visited and came to two Mikey's Fest now.
Yeah.
And I think, with Lee Pemberton, his goal, his life's dream, and same with his son, Jim, is to see the IICRC evolve into a much more modern entity and providing not only online education, but a very much more modern hands-on education, right? Not just theory and textbooks and DVDs, which has been the case for the most part. But anyway, I'm excited about where the IICRC is headed. You and I have had talks. There's a lot of good coming on. I think, Michael and I have barely talked, but I've done some research. I think you're the right person for the job. Absolutely. I love that you're from outside the industry. You got a military background. I think it seems like you're the dream candidate for this position of president and CEO, correct?
Yes, thank you. Yes, I appreciate the kind words too.
What the heck did your wife and friends say when you told them you were going to be the new ruler of the carpet cleaning universe?
Well, first, my wife said, and I'm sure you've heard this, I think within the industries that IICRC represents, you guys know what IICRC means. Beyond that bubble, there's a lot of people that don't have any idea. Oh, yeah. So my wife, like anyone else, said, what is it? What does it do? And I think I can tell you, I share a vision with the chairman here, Kevin, and many of our leaders that are shareholders and board members and our registrants to make sure that this brand is known beyond just our industries. And that's something that I seek to do in kind of growing the organization beyond just its respective industries that it represents.
You got your work cut out for you, but I think you got a great team there. I mean, I've met and know some of them, but at that meeting, that first shareholder meeting, John Barrett with ISSA, and knowing that he was a fellow shareholder, Scott Mitzef, who also came to my event, and you can't not mention Lee Center and his passion for this whole thing. It's just fantastic. But I also love seeing some of the new teachers that are coming. You got to bring up Sean Basayon, who's not necessarily a new teacher, but extremely passionate. And then Adam Hale, new guy, brand new. I love seeing Adam in there. I've known Adam forever. Tom Cermak, who's new, old but new. And again, incredible personalities and the kind of guys I'd want teaching my techs, because they're going to bring a lot of dynamic stuff to the class. But the whole shareholder position is kind of weird, because I've had multiple people tell me that there's no other organization like it, with its group of shareholders and its board and the shareholders they don't really own any shares. They just bought in, and they have a very small voice as far as being able to vote on future board members. But other than that, there's really no responsibility there. And I'd certainly like to see that change. I think there's all kinds of projects that we could take on as a group. I'd like to consider and bring to the board or the shareholders that we bring in new shareholders, modern, more young, some of these online guys that own Facebook groups and forums and whatnot, that I think they are essentially the modern association. Michael, I don't know if you're aware, but the associations back in the 70s and 80s were small regional groups that would get together and talk shop once a month or a quarter, and they'd meet at a rug shop or a supplier shop, or who knows, maybe at the park or something. And that's the only way they had to communicate back then and get their camaraderie and talk shop and whatnot. But now it's it's a 24/7 game with Facebook and everything else. And there's some very qualified groups that are very technical and have a passion for the industry. And I think we could get them to join if there was some responsibility for them and they felt like they were bettering the industry and brought value to their group, which wouldn't be hard to do. I'm looking forward to the next shareholders meeting to bring this up. I talked to John Barrett about it. He seemed to feel the same way. So just one more positive change that's coming to the association. As far as hands-on education, Brian Thompson and Brian's a very well-known hard surface teacher. He's very involved in tile and grout, stone polishing, and restoration and whatnot. He's worked for 3 or 4 of the larger companies in the industry, and he and I have been friends for a long time. And we've always wanted to do a very hands-on training course to teach hard surface repair, tile and grout issues and countertops and just a slew of things. And when I brought that idea to Kevin, his eyes lit up and just couldn't believe it. He said, Kevin's words, why wouldn't we want to do this? And it's kind of a revolutionary thing. The IICRC has never sponsored an event like this, held it in its own building, helped fund it, as well as letting two teachers that are not IICRC certified teachers put on this class. But I mean, it kind of brings in something else I wanted to talk about, is that I think, the old way of having teachers, like I know Adam Hale just took the route, he has to take all the classes, he has to be certified, and how many courses to be able to teach just carpet cleaning, Kevin?
Well, you got to be a master technician, so master cleaning technician. So it's what 6 or 7 classes.
6 or 7.
So, yeah.
You got guys like Brian, and I got another friend, Robert Atlas, who's kind of the modern age Barry Costa, who's extremely knowledgeable on carpet repair, who's also a fantastic teacher, super passionate, and I'd love to see the association adapt itself to taking on niche teachers like that, not make them go through all those other courses. This isn't a master's degree to teach university level education. We just need guys to be able to teach these little segments of our trade. And I think, for the new age of the IICRC, I really think that's the way to go. And I'd love to have further discussion with you guys or hear your thoughts on it. Kevin?
Yeah. So, it's something that we've looked at, Mike. We do have a couple of the newest course, the RFMT course, which kind of does differ from that, where you don't have to be a master cleaner. We have a couple instructors that aren't, and we do have some other courses that we where you don't have to be a master technician to actually teach the course. So we have diverted a little bit from that here in recent years. But for the most part, most of our courses are still that way. So it's definitely slow progress.
I think, again, put this in the lap of the shareholders. Let us work on this kind of thing. I know that, you have a certain size board members, your board, and certain size and certain amount of time to put in all of this, but I really think that's the way of the future. And Mike, I know you're quickly learning all about online education. Was it 3 or 4 of the schools are virtually demanding it as of last week?
Yeah, that's right. And I actually come from that world where in traditional higher education, the movement has already moved, whether it be even community colleges are doing it now, where they have shifted from on ground to online or hybrid, where you do a mix of on ground and online. Now everybody appears to be moving in that direction, especially because of what's happening with coronavirus. So even temporary or short-term training is online, but the infrastructure is there. You can move education to distance learning and online, but there has to be a willingness to do that. And I actually believe we're there. I know that this board has already approved e-learning, and we are looking at, just as we speak, in fact, the chairman and I are going to be having a call with our board of directors this upcoming week. And we're going to be talking about whether we can create some sort of ability for our instructors in schools to provide online learning, live online learning for their students and for individuals that need to take these courses, because a lot of these guys are not able to meet in person.
Yeah, as an employer, I talk to many that are in my shoes with many more employees, and there's never been, well, as of last week, who knows what the future holds, but there's never been a harder time to find and keep employees and the trade level, right? And so many, probably say 90% of the people you hire may last 6 months at best, and not many employees or many employers have the ability to do hands-on training with their floating or rotating staff. But if they were able to access, kind of like lynda.com, like Kevin and I were talking about the other night, where you could go to a database, you could look at a resume of a collection of teachers, look at what they've accomplished, what they did with their cleaning career, maybe what market they're in, what level of employees they had. Pick your teacher, buy that course, whether it's carpet or stone or water damage or whatever, and put your most likely ADD inflicted employee in front of it for 10 or 20 minutes a day. Move them through the course, and then the teacher would do that class. They'd be able to update it as trends and laws and whatever change. And then the teacher makes money from that course by further communication and every time it's sold. And if the student or the boss wants to get a hold of the teacher, all that contact time is paid for, whether it's email, text, one-on-ones, or even in person, like Doug does. I really think that needs to be something that the IICRC moves forward. I know that's certainly Mr. Pemberton's dream, and you got that great big building there. I'm sure we could turn one of those closets into a recording studio. Where the teachers came to you, you had all the props, you had all the carpet and whatever simulated drying house and whatnot, and they're filmed there, and you guys house the library and you charge for the classes, and you could have an army of teachers, and I think it would bring a whole new wave of teachers that would appeal to. I mean, a lot of guys make great teachers, but they still run businesses. They can't get into that road warrior lifestyle that so many of the old school teachers have these days, where you're on the road bouncing from hotel to hotel and going to school. It's not too realistic for most people's lifestyle. But I don't know what do you think of that, Mike?
No, I think it's these are the kind of things that I know that our board has already been discussing. And one of the things I don't know if it's been promoted yet is that there is a couple ideas on how we train or adjust the way we do our training and instructing. So some folks are more pushing for hands-on more than the theory-based, which we see now with taking tests. Others want us to continue to be grounded in the theory-based as well. Some think we should balance it and have the two. And that's why we have an education committee where they debate all of this and make a set of recommendations. So I always encourage folks to get more involved. And I would say that the thing I'm trying to do is learn from everybody in the field, talk to our instructors, talk to the up and coming leaders in our industries and say, hey, what is it that you're looking for from IICRC? What do you think the future is? And we have to take that feedback and be very serious about digesting that feedback. And how do we turn it into a strategic plan? And that's one of the biggest things that the chairman and I are working on. We're going to create a plan for the future of this organization, not just for next year, but for the next 5 years and the next decade and for the decades to come. Because we need to be thinking about the future constantly and how we evolve to best support the next generation of leaders in inspection, cleaning, and restoration.
Kevin, did you have I know you got thoughts on it, but did you have a dream going into this, into your position of online and much more hands-on education? You seem to be very receptive to it.
Well, yeah, I'm receptive to it because everything else in our lives revolves around being online. And then you go to IICRC and we're still using Scantron. So it does make you think, hey, we got to catch up. And so it's nice, as Michael says, to be able to talk with different restorers and cleaners around the nation. I think last week, whenever I was actually in Vegas, we had a couple of people stop by the GRC, want tours of the GRC, got to meet Michael and I. And, we got to talk to them a little bit about things that they wanted. They're certified firms and cleaners in the industry. And just when you get those opportunities, it's kind of cool to hear what people want, which brings us back to your event, Mikey's Fest, which is really why I've enjoyed going, being able to connect with those cleaners, those restorers, see what they're looking for, and be able to take those ideas back to the boardroom and see what we can come up with.
Mm-hmm. Well, you said the key word, got to catch up. And I think that's very much the case. The IICRC as a whole has been seen by the bulk of the online cleaners. And yeah, we are a bit of a niche, and we tend to call ourselves the 5%ers. But as any of the manufacturers and suppliers will tell you, we start the trends, and it all trickles down from us. Yeah, there's a whole lot of cleaners that don't go online whatsoever, and I've seen the IICRC test numbers and the amount of people that go through the system. It was I was flabbergasted, for lack of a better word, of how much an industry goes to you guys for seemingly all their education. But I think it could be so much bigger, better, and bolder. And to see you guys at the helm here is very exciting, and why I'm on board with you. But I don't know, Mike. I guess I got to imagine that in your training as a Marine, that you didn't just sit there and listen to lectures and watch DVDs, right? You were out in the field, and you were stabbing dummies and climbing over walls, and I mean, it was extremely hands-on, right? And I think every organization, every trade, and every element of business and learning these days needs to have that option. Sure, it's not for everyone. Some people do much better book learnings. Some people do better watching videos. Some people do it all, but need to be right in there in the trenches, and we need to offer those three options, I guess. And that it's all going to help build the IICRC too. I think people are willing to pay for it. You saw the demand at my event, Kevin. I mean, we're at the point where we got to turn people away. I mean, that people love that hands-on, get in there with these teachers and see it, feel it, do it. And I know on my YouTube channel, it's like a whole different audience there. And those people got to watch it on video. They can't go to my forum and read about it. They got to watch it, And then there's the people like, well, I'll wait till your event, and then I'll come in there and see it and try it and do it. And then it clicks. It's a whole different crowd.
You attract a lot of people that have been in the industry for years, and then you attract new people that have been there for 3-6 months. And the event is just a really cool place to meet all those people and learn all the different techniques in the industry, and just hear from all the cleaners. So that's what I've enjoyed about the last 2 events, Mike.
Mm-hmm. It's certainly a step in the right direction. I'd like to see more of it, certainly for the restoration end of it, and the rug end, and everything that you guys cover. There should be similar type of events for each factor of that. Again, one more thing for the shareholders to maybe get involved in. Well, I got a ton of ideas to keep us all busy and earn our 2 free vacations a year to Las Vegas for one night. But hey, before I asked on my forum and Facebook, and I got some really good questions. But why don't we take a minute to give an update on the IICRC and how you guys are dealing with the coronavirus and education. And I don't know, I'm going to ask you to be Nostradamus here in a little bit and kind of predict and see, where we're going to be 2 weeks from now or a month from now, where the industry is headed. Are we going to get busier? Are we going to get slower? Who's going to weather this out the best? What kind of company? And I don't know. Kevin, why don't you go? Let's hear your thoughts on this.
Sure. Well, kind of some of the things that we've done so far is we've been able to partner with RIA and NATCA on a joint letter that's been going out to all the 50 governors, and we're trying to make sure that each state can recognize our industries as essential. And that's very important, that we can keep all of our certified firms, our registrants, anybody involved in this industry on the road to protect the buildings out there that sustain water damage and fire damage every day of the week. And we got to keep those buildings clean as well. So that's that's one of the things that we've been doing. As far as how this industry is going and what to look for in the coming weeks, I don't think any of us know, but I think we have to prepare for what is or what could be our new reality for a little while. So, it's interesting. We had to kind of shut down the office in Vegas and get everybody to work from home remotely. So I don't know if you've been on the IICRC website this past week, but we now have live chat, and you can, live chat with one of the staff members during the week. It works really well. I tried it myself just because I wanted to see what it was like from an end user point of view. It works really well, and so it was smooth, and so hopefully people will still be able to connect with us, get their questions answered, on their certifications or whatever questions they have. So that's kind of quite a few things that we've done just in the last 4 or 5 days.
Mike, you mentioned something right there to tag along to what Kevin said, the chairman. His first comment, I think, goes to actually a question that was in the comment box from Bob. I see that comment there, Bob. You're asking about what we're doing. I know that there are differences between what certain states are saying are essential and non-essential businesses. And I can tell you, Bob, there's a letter. And to anybody else that's interested, if you go to the front page of the website, we talked with RIA's leadership. I got on a call with the chairman, Kevin, and Mark Springer, is that right, from RIA, just a few days ago, quickly drafted this letter that you can look at right on the front of the website. So if you go on IICRC.org, you can download that letter, and I encourage you to send it to your state and local officials. I come from Washington, D.C., and all politics are local. It happens at a grassroots level, and that's how you influence your elected officials. So if we want to be labeled as essential businesses, in some states we already are, or at least there's terminology where it's flexible enough to where you could argue that we are. But some, it's not clear. It's very vague, and that's precisely why you'll see us signed on to this the three groups that put this letter together, so that we can encourage all 50 states to understand, hey, this is important. We need to be labeled as essential, and here are the reasons why. So please go to the website and you'll see that, and you can download that letter.
It's certainly not black and white, and I think the feeling in each town, which is dramatically different from what I can tell, based on how that town voted for the most part. The politics in that town seem to dictate their level of extreme reaction. I'm trying to be PC about this, but I know the difference between where I'm at in northern Nevada and my Santa Cruz very liberal vegan audience over there are black and white. And I think we'd probably be shot if we left the door in a carpet cleaning truck, left our office, but over here, geez, I've never been busier. People are, I got 2 calls or emails last night saying, "Are you still in business? I got this going on, got that going on. I'm working on community projects for, empty buildings, but yeah, I'm being very careful and wearing gloves and, doing what I can, but I'm not too worried about it. I've gotten the flu more than once, and, I'll do what I can to not spread it, but yeah, my doors are open and I'm still cleaning. And I don't know, Kevin, do you dare say, would you be out cleaning right now in this environment?
If I hadn't sold my restoration company, I'd still be out cleaning. We have to, because I think during this time, your customers kind of depend on you. We got quite a few of the companies out there going in and wiping down surfaces and, just cleaning the whole place. So honestly, and now is kind of a really good time if you're a cleaner and you got a big buildings all over the place that don't have very many people in them. That's kind of, during the day, you don't have to wait till midnight. So now is the time where you want to go.
I don't know. When they say you can help prevent it by washing your hands for whatever it is, 20 seconds with soap and water, not bleach, not sporicide or whatever product, I got to think there's some benefit there to coming in and cleaning some fabrics with soap and water, right? If they want it clean and you know, you're smart about it and you're not keeping your 6-foot difference and, you know, keeping away from the cough and the spores and whatnot. But my buddy Mark Sager put up a good little article about it, you know, just the power of soap and water today. And I think, I don't know, from my point of view, and who knows, I may be totally wrong and put in jail for doing this, but I'm going to keep on cleaning. And I think most of us feel that same way. But let's get to those questions I mentioned here. And there's some good ones here, and they are Pemberton approved. So nothing's too out of whack here. I'll put it that way. And this one, yeah, I'm not going to give away the names of who gave them away, but this person who asked this has been very involved with IICRC and associations, and is a big player, multi-trucker, and it's directed towards you, Mike. And it says, as the new president, are you tough enough to stand up to the board when you know what they want to do is wrong?
You always have to strike a balance as a president and CEO or executive in an organization when you're standing up to the board, if you want to label it that way. I try to build bridges and find common ground. And I'm coming from Washington, D.C., where building bridges is foreign. It's more about, hey, I'm entrenched. These are my views. You either accept them or you don't. But I try to work around that. In fact, I've worked with both sides of the aisle in this political environment, and I've solved some very big issues, whether it be benefits for military veterans or support for funding for trade programs. So I find ways to work together. I try to listen to everybody's views. And certainly as a leader, you do have to stand up for your values. And I think that's what happens in the strategic planning process. We got to formalize this organization and professionalize it for the future. That means we have to create a plan that we all agree on. And what you do when you create this plan is you set your left and right limits. And the only way you veer off that left and right limit, so essentially getting off track, which in the military we call mission creep. The only way you do that, if the opportunity is so great, then you veer off track. But what we have to do is come together as an industry, or the respective industries that we represent, and create a plan and agree on that plan. So then you can figure out what your core focus is and be dedicated to it. According to the mission of this institute, it's standards and certifications. So everything else should be secondary. You should be focused on standards and certifications. And if it doesn't fall within standards and certifications, that means you have to change your mission. So that's what we're going to do when we go through this exercise of the strategic planning process. And that's something that I have a great deal of experience on. But I will also say the board is my boss. As the president and CEO, that's not something that is lost on me. And I have to respect that. So I respect each and every one of them. But I also, and this is in the job description that was created by this board, I represent the registrants. So I have to listen to the people in the field, and I have to understand what they're saying and take that feedback, build that bridge to the board and say, hey, this is what we're hearing from certified techs and certified firms. And that's the great challenge that I have. And I intend on facing that challenge head on and working with the registrants and working with the board to find common ground for the betterment of the future of IICRC.
Being here from Washington, hopefully you got some connections with Halliburton. You might need them to help you build some of those bridges.
Well, every organization, Mike, they have their internal politics. And it's not lost on me that this and I'm reaching out to every board member. I'm talking to certified firm owners, technicians, instructors, shareholders. I have a message out to speak with every shareholder as well. I've spoken with some of them already. So I have to learn from everyone first. And I think a lot of people say they listen, but I do. Before I can start talking and telling people this is what we're going to do, I have to listen. And I have to take all of that feedback, gather it. And then once we gather it and put it together into this plan, we can begin to build for the future of this organization.
Well, I like what I'm hearing, Mike. I think, remember when Obama took office and they brought him in for his first cabinet meeting? And he came out, it looked like he aged 20 years. His hair turned 100 new wrinkles. They gave him the lowdown of what you're in for. I'm assuming you've had your first cabinet meeting, and you still look like you're 13 years old. So, right?
Well, I can tell you this.
We had hair last week.
So, yeah, I can't lose any hair, so I don't have to worry about that. I'm good there.
Awesome. All right, this another question named at both of you, and this is a big thing. I've seen it come up, and the IICRC depends on a lot of volunteer work. Heck, I'm already, I'm putting in a bunch of hours already volunteering, but can you keep a way to, figure out a way to keep the volunteers involved while cutting the politics that drag the organization down? And now more than ever, are people going to have time to volunteer when it's such a critical time, I guess you could say, but you got to keep them coming in, right?
You do. And I guess for the longest time, we depended on volunteers back when we had management companies and all to get the work of the Institute done. And, as we've evolved and starting 4 or 5 years ago when we went to our own staff, it's been something that we've been looking at. Okay, how do we rely less on the volunteers, use them for technical information, and let the staff be able to do their job? So it's definitely something that we've been looking at.
I highlighted this statement here from Paul Pearson. What's Paul's position on the board? What's his title?
So Paul used to be on the board. He is past chair, or I think when he was chair, I think it was called president. But he is the instructor in schools committee chairman right now, currently.
So if somebody wants to volunteer and get on the standards writing or rewriting as I'm involved and want to get involved somehow, Kevin, how do they contact you and get more information?
Well, they can always contact me. I'm pretty easy to get a hold of on Facebook. You can get a hold of me there. Email. Just if you want to get involved with the organization, there's plenty of ways that we can get you involved with the standards, get you hooked up with Millie Washington, our standards director. And if you wanted to be on one of the education committees, we could also get you on there as well.
Scott Smith's got a good question here. I thought it'd pop up. Hopefully he's not sleeping through this question like his avatar. But we were talking about earlier, you guys are sort of sponsoring John Downey's Siri streaming symposium. Boy, that's a mouthful. But how do you know how much he's changed that up to deal with what we're dealing with here? Because I mean, he had this class planned. It was supposed to be a pre-course to the experience in Cincinnati, and whenever that was, this week, next week. And it was very much a health-oriented course. Cleaning for health has always been John's passion, and he wanted to continue with that class. You guys got a little heat over it because some people think you shouldn't be charging for it, but it's not you guys. You just put your seal of approval or help them spread the word, basically. But have you talked to Mr. Downey and figured out how much he's going to be dealing with this new reality?
Yeah, so I know John has plenty of scientists that will be presenting on there. So it's just not like me or you getting on there talking about the coronavirus. It's people that got data, and so scientific data. So that's what John's angle is, and that's what Siri does. And you're exactly correct. We just kind of helped him when John came to us after his event got canceled. We just said, "Hey, we'll help you. Get some people to the event." Mm-hmm. And so that was kind of what we did. That was the angle that we went at it from. But I do know he's expecting it to not just be 30 minutes about how to wash your hands. It's going to be pretty in depth.
I will share that link. Kevin, maybe you can send it to me, how you sign up for that. Being that streaming, I assume there's no limit on how many students can get involved in that, but I think that would be a very wise thing to sit on if you're on the restoration end. I know Josh Ryan here is asking, if do you have to be disaster certified to disinfect? I mean, I'm not even sure if there's really a way to legally disinfect coronavirus at this point.
Right.
I'm not sure if you should be claiming that. I haven't seen anything written in stone from the right people in the government saying that that's even possible. But if that's the case, I'm sure that'll be discussed in that the Siri class. When was that, anyways? Remember?
I don't remember off the top of my head. I think it's March 30th or 31st, something like that. It's the end of the month.
Oh, so in the week. Okay. Let's see. Got another question here that was sent in for both of you. With a myriad of education available, YouTube, Facebook, Mikey's board, and all the rest, got to mention TMF. What's the plan to make it worthwhile for the average owner-operator carpet cleaner to join the IICRC? What's in it besides education?
Well, first off, you don't actually join or become a member of IICRC. Whenever you take one of our exams, you become a registrant. So it's a little bit different than a normal association that has members. We have registrants, and so you're getting your certification and becoming a registrant. So it's a little different than that, but what you get is you're part of helping us write the standards for the industry. And then we're using the standards and the good information that's out there to produce the courses that we approve. Because we don't actually hire instructors or own any schools. So they're all approved by us, but we don't actually own them or hire them.
Mm-hmm. Mike, you want to chime in on that?
Yeah, I'll just say, I think that's one of the challenges I already see internally, is this misunderstanding about what IICRC is. And it's not a trade association. And we have to communicate that. Unless it has a goal of becoming a trade association, which I don't hear anybody saying, it's an institute. And as an institute, it focuses on education. Education through its standards for the industry, and certifications. So similar to someone going to a college, except that we are not the school. We approve schools. That's what accreditors do. So that's what's unique about us. We recognize schools, we approve them, we approve instructors, and it's about the educational program. And that's where we need to be experts at, is the education side of the house and the standard side. And as long as we focus on those two core items, that's what the Institute is. I think some people are confused as to whether this is an association or not. Well, I was corrected very quickly when I was interviewing with the board. We're not an association. First letter is I, Institute. You don't see an A in there anywhere. You don't see association. We will not be referred to as an association. We are an institute, and that's what we just have to do a better job of communicating that to the industries that we educate.
People also need to realize you're not a marketing firm either. You're not there to promote all these registrants or people that take your class. That's way beyond what the association is capable of doing. The organization, let's call it. Here's a simple question, and one that got a lot of reaction. And the students want to know what question they missed on the test. And initially people say, oh, well, that if you told them, then that would be giving the answer to the next student that maybe came from that company or whatever. But it's easy enough to change up the number of questions throughout the room. So you got a 5%, a 50% chance of getting that question wrong if you go on the last guys. But why aren't they told which one they missed?
So Mike, I think it's just like you just said. You know, you don't want to give away the exam, but we do tell them kind of the category. So
Yeah.
if they missed health and safety questions, then they know to go study health and safety, and they'll receive what they receive in the packet. Will tell them, you know, the categories that they need to go back and study.
Well, I'm going to assume, you know, heck, it might have been, you know, been half a year ago, 2 years ago, whatever, that you didn't have the manpower to provide that answer. I mean, the IICRC was ran on very thin numbers, staff numbers, but now that, well, heck, Michael, how many employees are you suddenly the boss of there in the building now?
Just north of 30.
30.
30 35, yes.
But you get what I'm saying, how, you know, maybe you know, when they get assuming they passed or didn't pass, whatever, when they get their answers back, or, you know, their patch and their card and all that, maybe they could be told, and, you know, maybe the test could be random throughout the room. There were 5 different tests and the numbers in different orders. So there's, you know, to make cheating a whole lot harder, you know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, they'll be given that answer to the exam, is what you're saying.
Yeah, let them know what they need to. Let them know more than the category, but let them know what the answer was. It seemed to be a pretty hot topic. It never even occurred to me, but when I asked it, quite a few people got involved, and they seemed upset that they weren't told the answer because, you know, I don't know. I got the feeling that maybe they were close, but wanted to know the answer and didn't feel like taking the whole class over again. You know, maybe they didn't have the ability to find the answer. So it's something to think about.
It is. And I'll say this, Mike, one of the things I always focus on, if you want to be a professional organization, just as we create standards for our respective industries, there's standards for certification and educational programming. And if we're going to be a premier certification body, we need to follow standards.
Mm-hmm.
And unless there is anyone out there, including accrediting bodies or whatever it may be, that allows to give the answer to the test, we can certainly consider it. But if they don't, and we don't follow standards for how you provide and educate individuals, then essentially we would be going rogue and we'd be doing something different from industry standards for credentialing bodies and certification bodies. So that's the world I come from. And I always look to figure out, okay, what are the standards for educational programming? You have to meet that to be a respected organization moving forward. And that, I guarantee that's probably a category that's discussed.
Jeremy, who's live on with us now, asked a question that was next in line, but it's something I hear a ton of, that there are a lot of guys like myself that left, didn't recertify, but would like to come back, but don't have the means or passion, let's say, to go sit through another 2 or 3 day class to get certified in those courses again. So, Kevin, I know there's something in place that's happening. I got recertified. Maybe you can explain that process of what it takes. I mean, is it as easy as just proving you still know what you learned?
Sort of. You know, as long as you've kept up with your continuing education credits, then there is an avenue for you to go back and get recertified. And depending on how long you've been out, too, of course. But if you can, you know, show that you've taken the continuing ed credits, then there is an avenue, and you just have to get with the office, and they can explain it all to you and tell you what you need to do.
Let's say they weren't involved with CECs and or going to events or whatever, but you know they have the knowledge. Is there could they just take the test again and pay to take the whatever, the $50, $60 test, and to prove what they still have the knowledge?
No, I don't think right now they can do that. You can't just challenge the exam, but they can. You know, going to an event does get you a continuing ed credit and that sort of thing. So you can, if you can prove that you were there, then there's definitely an avenue. So there's options out there for people.
I think taking that test would be something that should be looked into. I mean, just because I went to the experience doesn't mean I was paying attention.
Correct.
Yeah. I'd like to, there could be a special shortened test that, especially on crucial things like water damage, where it definitely affects people's health. And yeah, I mean, we've all taken the online comedy traffic school, and we all know how to cheat. You just cut and paste the question, and the answer is out there. But what else are you going to do? That's I think if people could prove it, I don't know. Maybe you make them come into a retailer, John Don Interlink or whether independent, and take the course without their smartphone or computer in the room. It's an option. It's something to consider. Boy, we got the questions flying in here. Let me get. I just got one or two more here. There seem to be a lot of requests to have beginner, intermediate, and advanced level courses. There's guys that want to get certified, but they've already been doing it for 10 years, and when they go take the carpet course, it's pretty basic. They'd like to have some more advanced stuff going on. So obviously you need more teachers to do that, and maybe the advanced or the intermediate advanced go to that online level. But a lot of people like to keep on learning, right? No, what are your thoughts on that, Mike?
I'm a big fan of learning tracks and creating essentially what we call in the education business stackable credentials. There's a big movement towards that. So you get the entry level learning, and then you get the intermediate and advanced, and then you move towards a master track. That's not abnormal. There's more of a movement towards stackable credentials, and I'm certain that we'll be talking more about that. I've given a pitch to the board on different ways to think about the future of education and how the Institute, IICRC, can be involved in this new wave of educating, whether it be digital badges, whether it be stackable credentials. So exactly to what that question was, Mike, entry level to more mid or intermediate level to advanced and master tracks, and then you can build on top of it. So my mind is already thinking that way. We have to create the infrastructure here in this organization to build towards that. But if there's a willingness to do it, we can. The future's already here when it comes to e-learning, digital technologies embedded in education, all facets of education. So you're either with it or you're being left behind. And I think for everybody that's participating on this live chat that we have here, this live interview, I can tell you that I appreciate digital technologies in the future of learning. And it's something that I know the chairman does as well. And I'm going to be working tirelessly to figure out how we can integrate that into the current ways of teaching for IICRC.
That's fantastic. I think both of you should go take the IICRC upholstery course and then go sit through Jim Pemberton's fine fabric course. And you'll get the gist of just how technical and advanced, some things as simple as just cleaning a sofa can be, and there's there has to be those different levels of classes. You threw a guy with no experience into Jim's class, and he's going to get his money's worth, put it that way, but a lot of it's going to go over his head. And it takes years of experience to be able to absorb everything that Jim's talking about at that level. That goes to rug washing and stone polishing, and I'm certain I don't do restoration, but I'm sure that all needs to be processed. And you start small, work your way big, and the education level on that can't be any different. But again, I think online and adjacent to hands-on, until you get more instructors willing to do this. But I would think, once you make that online option available and maybe have that recording studio, because that's probably a big fear with the teachers. Like, how would I ever record this? Like that could took Kevin 10 minutes just to figure out how to put his phone on a tripod this morning, and if we told Kevin he's got to go film himself doing a class, he's got to
we'd be in real big trouble.
Oh boy. Anyways, yeah, the level of cleaning there, I think, is going to be key to the success of what you guys are doing there. See, even Matt Cole agrees. Let's see. Scott, boy, getting a lot of good questions here. Let's put this one up here. Stacy, she's got a long history, and her father or maybe a grandfather started this deal. I would love to see help in the public education as to why this should be important to qualify. They should seek in their cleaner. Basically informing the public why they want an IICRC cleaner. And when we flash our fancy card, the impact is lost because, most cleaners haven't heard of it, or most customers haven't heard of it. So is that something you've addressed, Mike, is how to enlarge public awareness of what you guys are doing there?
I mentioned it a bit in the beginning of this conversation. One of the things I talked about with the board during my interview with them, several interviews, is promoting the IICRC brand for the benefit of certified technicians and firms so that customers know, okay, this is a valuable brand and it's important. And these are the cleaners, restoration technicians, inspectors we should be going to because they're the professionals in their respective industries. Promotion beyond your bubble, the world you live in, is challenging, but it's possible. But there are investments that can be made, whether it be in advertising, both traditional and digital. And the digital piece is something that I really get excited about because it's the one thing that you can do with an investment that goes farther and more targeted than other traditional means, like a billboard or an advertisement you see during a Super Bowl commercial or a sports commercial, whatever it may be when you're watching TV. Those are very expensive, and the targeted demographics you focus on are based on the TV viewers. With digital, whether it be Facebook ads or anything like that, you can actually target specific customer bases and begin to promote your brand more, specific to individuals maybe that are looking for a cleaner or looking for a restoration tech, or perhaps certain parts of the country that have been afflicted by a natural disaster, and there's going to be demand there. And that's the beauty of embracing the future of digital technologies. It's not only just with e-learning or distance learning, online learning, whatever you want to call it. It's also in every other facet of our life, including advertising and marketing and promotion. So I've been thinking quite a bit about that. I am in the midst of creating a plan for the organization, for the Institute, and that's one element of it, the promotion of IICRC beyond our space, beyond those that are already familiar with it, are essentially registrants, the technicians that are already aware of it. How do you get into the minds of the customer base?
I don't know if it's ever been done. Kevin, you may know, but has the IICRC ever approached the mills and the furniture manufacturers and the hot water heater companies and the toilet manufacturers to put the logo on there, and for a list of certified cleaners, contact, go to this website or phone number. But I don't know how you get them to play ball, if it'd be an extortion thing or what.
We have done that before, and we used to be really good at that in the past. And we're starting to get back to that. Michael and I have had quite a few conversations about this. We actually have plans before all of our plans got changed here in the last week or so. We had plans to go to Dalton, Georgia, and talk to the manufacturers down there. But another thing that Michael and I have done is not only with mills and manufacturers, this kind of thing, but there's a big problem with mold in military housing. And even before Michael actually first started 2 weeks ago, we were in Washington, D.C. talking to a bunch of senators about mold in the military housing and how our S520 standard can actually help and would have prevented this if they had been following the standard. And so we're out there doing several things to get the name out there. But, it's just a long road before it becomes a household name.
I see Bill as Bill Yaden said you've talked to the mills, and I don't know if it's in the benefit of the mills right now as they're pushing polyester carpet. You can tell I'm very carpet oriented. I'm not thinking like a water damage person, but I mean frequent cleaning. I don't know. I could see a lot of good coming out of this whole Corona thing, and maybe that's one more thing, but more frequent cleaning to prevent wear. But I think it'd be pretty cool to have that as a consumer. Not every consumer knows to go on Yelp or whatever their referral source, but if there was a list of, to go online easily and find that certified cleaner in town, and in a sense for the people that have been begging for the IICRC to do some marketing for them. I hate to bring up the old ethical services from Joe Polish days, but that's kind of what he, remember the whole program he did. If you took his tutorage or whatever you want to call it, tutelage, you got put on a list. It didn't mean you knew how to clean anything. It just meant you paid Joe to help you market. But if you are a certified IICRC cleaner and you keep up your certs and all that, you're on that list, which you probably already have, right? I mean, you have that map to find a local cleaner.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it'd be one more way other than putting an ad on Oprah Winfrey magazine or whatever the modern show that housewives are watching these days. But I don't know what's it cost to do a little promotion on Facebook these days or Twittergram. Heck, I mean, that says virtually free, isn't it? Twitter is.
Yeah.
Instagram
Cost a whole lot to do a lot of social media.
Yeah.
Targeted.
Yeah. But yeah, just let the public know that there is this group of certified cleaners that put value on education, that they are easily findable. Scott, let's put that up there. So certifiedcleaners.org. Is that
you actually let Scott on here, huh?
Huh?
You let Scott on here, huh?
Is that a link to the page on the IICRC site? Certified Cleaners?
Certifiedcleaners.org. That sounds like one of our websites. I don't know exactly the actual link, because the IICRC webpage is made up of so many different domains that could be one. It sounds familiar.
Okay. Looks like Mike's looking it up.
I'm looking it up now. Yeah.
Yeah.
It just it redirects to our main website. So
yeah.
Right to the page where you put a pin on the map. Look, there you go. What's Mr. Burdick here? Here's my sergeant at arms here, Mikey's Fest. Needs an emotional pull to make an impact. I agree with Mike. This virus could be it for all of us if done correctly. Yeah, I don't know what's changed in the hour since we've been on as far as the coronavirus and how it's going to affect us. But I think I almost feel guilty. Well, I do feel guilty at how this industry can benefit. And then I think, I look at other industries and I'm already seeing some shutting their doors, that know they're not going to make it through. They have too many employees. They're not going to be able to put them on unemployment. They're not going to be able to come back, and it's, but just like, in the 2008, 2009 financial crisis, our business soared, people cleaned rather than replaced. And that's the reality of it. If you placed yourself in the right market and you're cleaning for the right types of folks that put value on cleaning and have a few bucks in their pocket, I think there's a storm coming for you. Geez, we've been on an hour and 10 here. We didn't really agree or talk about any amount of time here, but I am out of the pre-asked questions. Is there anything else you guys would like to add?
Well, I'd just like to say I appreciate you bringing back the Mike and Mike show and letting me be your special guest star here. So I wonder how many people noticed the the mask in the background there.
The mask on the deer.
Yeah.
Here's a good one from Steve Shotwell. Trump's live right now speaking, but he's ignoring it to listen to us. We're a lot easier to listen to, for sure. Joel Riggs, another leader in the industry, whether he realizes it or not. Many are being told that carpet cleaning is not essential. Joel, we talked about this earlier, and it's going to kind of depend on you and the local feel in your community right now. I'm more than certain that our law enforcement agencies here in Beer Can Springs, Nevada, would give me a high five when they see me out cleaning. I was around them. Actually, our community center is used by law enforcement, and it's still open to them. They're allowed to come in, and we had great words together. But I know there's other areas that geez, I would be worried about how much of a Nazi type state this might turn into before it's all over with. But again, that's a local, up to your local jurisdiction, as they say.
Right.
Let's see. Meg says in Pennsylvania, it has to be life-sustaining business to be open. For some, life-sustaining restoration work, the leaky floors or whatever, leaky toilet and whatnot, can be life-sustaining. Mike, I know you were thinking about closing up the IICRC building a day or two ago, but you're staying open with limited staff and grading tests and dealing with your.
I appreciate you asking that, Mike. We have a little over 30 employees, and the Global Resource Center here in Las Vegas, Nevada, is our headquarters office, and it is shut down for the majority of staff. They're all working from home. So while the office is shut down, our people are still working. And Kevin mentioned earlier during this live chat that we have a live chat on our website that's staffed Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 3:30 Pacific. So if you have questions, go on there, ask questions, and we're happy to answer. But in terms of processing tests and exams, and stuffing envelopes to make sure people get their certifications and their pocket cards, we have a core group, and we're still complying with all state and local authorities here in the state of Nevada and in Southern Nevada and Clark County in Las Vegas. But I've actually read the emergency declaration by our governor, Mike, and I looked at the accompanying regulations and made sure that we could have a core group here to keep processing and working on the essential functions of this business for IICRC, so that the registrants and the individuals that have taken exams or have submitted a renewal can get that processed. And we're working on it. We're trying to stay ahead of it in this new normal with the majority of our team working from home.
I know Meg in Pennsylvania she shut down. Her whole town shut down. I think it was one of the first communities to take it to the extreme. And I don't know, Meg, you have to type out your answer, but if somebody else here says they're cleaning some federal buildings, and like I said, I was cleaning a community center, but I would encourage carpet cleaners, and I know my California business will be doing this week, but I'd be going through every commercial account I had and making a phone call, not sending out some generic marketing piece, but making the call and call the ones that are going to survive this and would benefit from cleaning now. And like you said earlier, Kevin, there's no employees there. You can come in, do a more detailed job. You're not working at night. You're not in a hurry. That's certainly the case I've been doing, on my community center, which I normally got to clean at night or on Sundays. And, I'd rather not be doing that. But midday, on a Tuesday, Wednesday, I'm nerding out and they're doing a way better job, But I would be going through the database.
Midday and nobody's looking over your shoulder.
Oh yeah, I'm cranking the Led Zeppelin through my headphones and taking my time. But yeah, I would be looking through every job, and because most people, most owner operators, like I see on here, you have a great relationship with these businesses, and if you haven't done so yet, contact those businesses. Meg, the question is, if your former husband there wanted to go out cleaning this week. Could he contact those businesses and go, clean an empty building? Or are they do you feel that the cops would show up and shut him down and fine him? Let's see. Mr. Pierce has got something here. Let's pop that up. UK is probably going into lockdown this week. All restaurants, pubs, gyms have been closed down. Schools closed last Friday. It's not getting any better yet. Yeah. But Paul, maybe you can answer this if you hear this. I mean, what are they saying? Are cleaners allowed to go out and clean these empty gyms, schools, and pubs and everything else, so that when they reopen, they are as clean as can be and looking good, and like they cared about the community that's coming back to them? Yeah, what Meg said is true. I think law enforcement is too taxed. Can you imagine? I mean, I know my daughter was worried about, some of the filings for paying some of the bills and everything, but can you imagine the mass amount of paperwork this thing's going to create? And I think I'm not encouraging and endorsing and everything else, but I think there's going to be a whole lot of tax fudging going on that'll never get noticed for the next couple of years. What's Paul saying there? No, I did not just recommend tax evasion. Sorry. That's not an IICRC endorsed statement.
No.
Paul Pierce, as of yet, cleaners have not been stopped. When I can't pop it up here, but the word cleaner is pretty generic, and it does say cleaners are still allowed, but what does that mean truly? Anyway, there's 100. Oh, geez, there's 100. That's kind of scary. There's 100 tanks on a train going through middle Pennsylvania in my area right now. Good grief. Anyway, I don't want to get into too much doom and gloom here, but I mean, it is a very real thing, and not the best conditions or environment for this interview that I was hoping would stay mostly uplifting, right? But I don't know. Guys, you got any closing words on all of this? The questions are still firing in, so if you're okay with answering some of these.
Sure.
Some of these are just statements, and I'm just going to pop them up there as we go, but maybe you can read these along. You guys can see these, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
I can see it.
Yeah. Kevin, your kids are home right now, right?
That's correct. Yep.
Yeah.
We have college and one in high school, and they're at home taking courses online.
The college?
Yeah.
It's switched
And
online?
high school.
And the high school.
Yeah.
They were up and ready to go with this?
They got it there. They weren't initially, but they got it there.
What program are they using to get the teacher in front of the kids?
They're using Google something or other in the high school.
Mm-hmm.
It's one that Google.
My wife's church had her load up a program, similar thing, Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole congregation can watch what they whatever you call them, the clergy. See what he had to say, but that seemed to be working good. Let's see, Scott Smith, Pennsylvania. I stopped and talked to a state police officer and said we're not specifically mentioned. He felt we were more of a help than a hurt. I think most cops are going to be pretty realistic about all of this. Robert Atlas, we're still working, taking precautions and taking it day by day, although it is slowing down. Meg again. Oh, sorry, Meg. There we go. Her Cintas in her area is allowed to work because they supply uniforms and to the food processing plants and pharmaceuticals in that area. Her boyfriend works for them. He's likely to be having to go out and making deliveries. So yeah, there's I don't know, my little town here in Gardnerville, man, it's business as usual. If I didn't know any better, I wouldn't know. It's things are busy. It's kind of odd. God, I wish we could get John Downey on here to talk a little bit and give a teaser of what the course is going to be. I can't see who's on, but I don't know, Kevin. What would you, if you were sending texts out, what would you be asking them to do as far as taking precautions? Besides what Scott Smith says here, gloves, masks, shoes, booties. I mean, would you be hosing down the chemicals in the hoses, more importantly?
Yeah, that, and you know, I saw something interesting on Facebook the other day. Kind of got me thinking, is having a hand washing station in the back of your cleaning van. One of the guys posted he put a 5-gallon jug with a pump on the top of it, and he had some soap there so he could take, and you know, when he got back in, before he got back in the truck, he could actually wash his hands and all that.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was kind of an ingenious way to deal with it. Of course, you know, a lot of guys can just take water right off their fresh water tank too and do the same thing. But just being prepared for something like that is pretty neat.
Well, I would think just take it, an injection sprayer like a Hydroforce and washing off all the hoses and everything that went into the house. If you're going, doing a somewhat of a route where you're going house to house, and hard surfaces need how many hours for the virus to die off? Is it what was the number there? A couple hours, right?
Yeah, it's a couple hours. I think I heard as long as 9.
Yeah, but if soap and water is the key, then yeah, maybe you take that hot soapy water from your Hydroforce and blast the heck out of it out in the driveway, and every little thing's going to help. The shoe covers, try and touch as little as possible. Keep them, put on fresh gloves constantly, throw them out properly. Josh is saying, if you traveled to an airport in the last 14 days, traveled outside the country, oh yeah, all those kind of things. If you or your employees are highly likely to have been subjected to it, tell them to stay home, put them on that temporary unemployment. Boy, I hate to see these companies that are taking advantage of it and making these false claims. It certainly doesn't help the industry.
That's true.
It's you should revoke their IICRC cards if you catch them doing that. There's been a couple of people catching them on Facebook and posting their company names. And, oh boy, they need a stern talking to. Huh? 9 days on metal surfaces, but it was 5 hours. Steve Shotwell saying he feels as if they don't know. I don't know. Maybe they don't.
Yeah.
But they're sure adamant about washing hands. What's more absorbent than skin, in the long run. So I don't know. I know what I'll be doing for the rest of the week, hosing off everything. All right. Well, geez, I hate to give up on the fact we still got a bunch of people on here, but I didn't want to keep you guys on all day. I know you got families and whatnot, but I don't know. Any final words, Michael?
Well, I want to thank you for allowing me to come on. I think this is my first public appearance, and it has to be online for now. I'm sure I'm going to meet many of the individuals that are logged on right now, but also many others in the industries that we represent. I look forward to it. I look forward to having conversations with you. And in the meantime, since we can't meet in person, I'd be happy to have conversations via email or on a phone call with anybody that wants to connect with me. I'm in my second week here, so I'm here to learn. I'm here to learn from you. But I do want you to know that I'm also in partnership with the chairman and the board of directors and the leaders of this organization. We're gonna build IICRC to be better. And I know that there have been growing pains in the past. I'm sure some are still experiencing them, and that's normal. And that's okay. It's the willingness to get past that and to work together for the organization, for the Institute. That's what we have to do. And I'm looking forward to working with everybody to take this Institute to the next level. And thank you again, Mike, for hosting me. I appreciate it.
You bet. Kevin, maybe you need to look at what Meg's saying there. And I think a position from you guys on this would be a wise move to put on the site and pages and whatnot. And, have something to say about people that are marketing this incorrectly.
Yeah, most definitely, because I think a lot of where you got to get your information from is the CDC and the World Health Organization right now. A lot of these other people just, I mean, we don't know. They may be right, but we don't exactly know. And so there's a lot of unknowns. You just look at you trying to figure out how long it lasts on a surface. I don't think we know. So we got to be careful about where we get our information, what information we put out there, and we got to be accurate with it. But I do want to say thank you, Mike, for allowing us this forum to be on here. Mm-hmm. It's nice to be able to come on here and talk to a bunch of cleaners and restorers, and just tell them kind of what's going on in the Institute nowadays. So I appreciate it.
Oh, you bet. And I just want to say, I was a little bit surprised, but then I wasn't. But you guys never asked for a list of the question I was going to be asking, and that's a little nervy, especially for you, Kevin, because you know the history of the IICRC, and my my history, and I've always been a bit of a outspoken troublemaker in the industry, and not afraid to to call someone out. And I appreciate your trust in me to be cordial and supportive in this whole thing. So thank you for that. Yep. And I'm hoping everything goes as planned. And man, this September event that we got going at your event, and I think it's gonna change a lot. I think Mike being there, we're gonna teach Mike how to recock bathtubs.
I'm looking forward to that, because I think we're going to actually have a few staff members that will come out to the Ronald McDonald House, and maybe we can get some staff members actually behind a wand or something.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's going to be neat just to see, get our staff out in the field and see what's going on. So I think they're going to enjoy that. But it's a fun event. You learn a lot. And as I told you after the last event, with the quality of speakers that were there, I don't think people realize the value of what they got for their money. So anyway, it's a great event.
And Mike, it's gonna be good for you too. You're gonna get to meet the best cleaners in Las Vegas, the guys that you're gonna want to hire to clean your new home that's coming in, because they all show up to help clean the floors and furnishings there at that Ronald McDonald House. It's gonna be a heck of a networking event, and I'm really hoping that the experience goes on, and it's gonna be a fantastic week for the industry. There's so much happening then. And hopefully we're all in a better place by then, and we can just make the best of it. I think it's gonna be fantastic, as well as the following. My next event's gonna be in San Diego, a big, full-on traditional. Actually, gonna be a 3-day Mikey's Fest. That 2 days of speakers, and then cleaning of their massive house down there. And man, we got all kinds of great stuff going on there, and that'd be great to have you come down, Mike, too, because it would be a huge learning experience for you. That's January.
Thanks.
January in San Diego, which you couldn't be a better place. Be in January. All right. Well, we do some kind of no, my hands don't show up. We could.
I think we have to fist bump, right?
I know we're all way too close to you guys. It looks like we're like right next to
the elbow.
elbow bump.
There it is.
All right, guys. Well, again, I really appreciate it. I'm super excited about the future of this whole thing. Glad to be on board. Hope to see you next month, for when I come down and meet the contractor handyman and start building all the work areas and demo boards and whatnot for that class. And the future is bright.
Yeah. Thank you again, Mike. I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it. It's
bet.
great to be on the Mike and Mike show.
Thank you. I appreciate. Thanks, Mike. Thanks so much. We
You bet. I'll get this loaded to YouTube so the people that are out doing their thing today can watch it later.
Great.
All right. Goodbye, everybody. We'll talk soon.
All right.